Level 1, the Spectator. You're 16 years old and your older cousin takes you somewhere on a Friday night that you weren't supposed to go. An industrial area on the edge of the city, empty warehouses, a stretch of road between two sets of lights that the city planners would not have designed if they'd known what it would be used for. There is 60 or 70 people there, cars you've never seen except in magazines. The noise is different from road traffic noise, lower, more deliberate, like the engines are being held back. Then two cars line up at the first set of lights. You don't see the signal. You don't know yet what the signal is. The lights go green or someone drops their hand or something happens and both cars go at the same time and the sound is not what you expected, not the roar from the film, something faster and more immediate. The cars are gone before you fully process that they left. The crowd reacts. People who have been here before react differently from people who are here for the first time. You react the way people react the first time. Your cousin explains things on the way home, who the cars belong to, what they were running, what the numbers mean. You listen to everything and retain more than he probably expected you to. By the time you're home, you've decided something you don't put into words yet because the word for it doesn't exist to you yet, but the decision has been made. Level 2, the passenger. 17, you've been back to the spot 6 times. You know people now, not the top people, the peripheral ones, the people who stand at the edge and know what's happening and are adjacent to the culture without being inside it. One of them is a guy a few years older than you who runs a modified Volkswagen Golf. Nothing extreme, a stage, one tune, and a suspension drop and wheels that aren't stock. He offers you a passenger seat run one night, not a race, just a feel the road from that angle. The difference between watching and being inside a moving car is the difference between reading about water and swimming in it. The Golf is not an extraordinary car. It's modified enough to communicate something about what an extraordinary car might feel like. The acceleration pushes you back. The corners arrive and resolve faster than your brain files them as memories. When you get out, your hands are slightly shaking, and you don't mention this because you're 17 and you're not going to tell anyone your hands are shaking. You learn things from the passenger seat that the spectator spot never offered. How the driver reads the road 30 meters ahead, how they manage traffic that doesn't know a race is happening around it, the specific concentration that's visible in the jaw and the eyes when the thing that's happening requires everything. You start understanding the language from the inside rather than the outside. Level 3, the first car. 18, you've been working for a year and a half at a job that doesn't interest you and that you've never for one moment thought of as anything other than money. That becomes a car. The car is a Honda Civic 1999, 114,000 kilometers on it when you buy it. 3 previous owners whose relationships to it you can partly read from what they left behind. The previous owner before last cared about it, the last one didn't. You start learning about your car the way every young driver in this world learns about their first car, by breaking things and fixing them, by finding what's wrong before it becomes an emergency, and sometimes by finding it after. You change the oil yourself, then the brake pads, then the timing belt because the timing belt was overdue. And the consequence of not doing it is the kind of engine failure that ends the project before the project properly starts. You take it to a meeting, not to race, to show up. This is a real distinction in the scene. Showing up with something that isn't ready is respected more than staying home with something that is. The community reads authenticity and it reads pretension, and the difference is visible before anyone opens a bonnet. You open yours eventually. People look, they see someone who is at the beginning of something. This is fine. The beginning is where everyone started. You also get your first run, not arranged in advance, organic. Someone at the meeting looks at your car and then at you and asks if you want to go. You say yes. The race lasts 11 seconds. You lose, not embarrassingly, but clearly. You learn in 11 seconds what months of research couldn't have taught you. The gap between your car and the other car exists in the engine, but it also exists in the driver. You file this away. The filing will take years to express itself. Level 4, the modified machine. 20 years old, and the Civic is different from what you bought it as, not unrecognizably. Specifically, every modification chosen because you understand why it was needed rather than because it looked good in a photograph. The suspension is coilovers now, set up for the roads you run on, which are not track roads and require a compromise between the two. The brakes are upgraded because the performance is increased and the brakes were never designed for this, and you were not willing to learn that lesson the expensive way. The engine has received attention, not a full build, targeted work. The intake, the exhaust system, a stage 2 tune that required 3 sessions with a tuner who knows this engine specifically. Each session on the rolling road showed you something about the car's character that the road had hinted at but not fully revealed. The numbers improved, but the numbers aren't the point. The feeling of what the car does when you ask for everything is the point. You win some runs now, not everything, not against the established names in the scene, but against people at your level, and occasionally against people who should be above your level because the car has developed in parallel with the driver, and the two together occasionally produce a result that neither one alone would have reached. You also develop your understanding of risk. This is different from the recklessness the word street racing implies to people outside the culture. The people who last in this world are not the people with the lowest risk tolerance. They're the people whose risk assessment is the most accurate. The road you run on at night is known to you. The traffic patterns are known. The surface conditions are known. The run doesn't happen when the assessment says it shouldn't. This isn't fearlessness, it's management. Level 5, the known driver. 23 years old, and people know your name in the scene, not the name on your license, the name the scene gave you, or the name your car gave you. The way this culture assigns names tells you something about what it values. What someone can do is more important than what they say they can do. You can do something now. People have seen it. Word travels in this world the way word always travels in small, specific worlds, faster than you expect. You've had your first serious run against someone whose reputation precedes them, a driver who has been in the scene for 6 years, a car that has been built over that 6 years, and that reflects 6 years of understanding about what this specific machine can be pushed to do. The run is close. Closer than it should be given the difference in their experience. You don't win, but the margin tells both of you something. They nod at you afterward. In this world, the nod from someone you respect is more valuable than most things. You've also had your first real brush with what happens when things go wrong. Not to you, but someone else. A run where something failed that shouldn't have failed, where the outcome was different from any outcome that should have been possible. You were there, you saw the aftermath, and you carry this with you as the thing that stops you from ever forgetting what environment you operate in. The people who forget tend not to be around for long. Level 6, the serious competitor. 26 years old, and your car is a different category of machine from the Civic you started with. An RB-engined Nissan Skyline that you've been building for 2 years. Not buying as built, building. The distinction matters because building means you understand every decision and its consequence. You know the turbo and why it was chosen over alternatives. You know the fuel system and why it was upgraded at the spec it was upgraded to. You know the gearbox and its limits. You know every limit because you need to know every limit. The power numbers are significant, not the largest in the scene, appropriate. Power that the chassis and the tires and the driver can use without exceeding what any of the three can manage. The interaction between those three elements is the thing that separates fast from crashed. You've seen fast become crashed. You understand it as a calibration problem rather than a power problem. You're running at major events now, not street events. Track nights, where the street racers take their cars to a circuit and run against each other in a controlled environment. The track is different from the street in ways that advantage some cars and disadvantage others. Your setup is compromised for the track because it was built for the street. You accept this and use the track nights for what they offer. Accurate lap times, real data, the kind of competitive environment where the variables are controlled enough that the gaps between drivers and cars are legible. You also start helping others, not formally, through conversation and presence and the specific willingness to share what you know with people who are where you were at 19. The knowledge that took you years to accumulate transfers in an hour of conversation. The next person learns faster. This is how any culture advances. You understand you're part of the transmission net rather than only the reception. Level 7, the legend of the tarmac, 30 years old. The scene has known you for 12 years. Not everyone in the scene. The people who have been in it for a decade know your car and your name and what you represent. The newer arrivals know the name before they know the person. This is different, and you've learned how to navigate it. The name carries expectations that the person has to meet, or the name eventually means something other than you. Your car is a different kind of project now. Not built for the most power, built for the most usable power in the specific conditions where it's run. The distinction is the product of 12 years of learning what fast actually means in the environment you operate in. Fast in a straight line is one thing. Fast where the road bends and the conditions change and the other variables are unpredictable is another. You build for the second kind. You've become a reference point in the community, not for technical questions only, for judgment. Whether a run should happen, whether a car is ready, whether a driver is ready, your opinion is sought, and you give it honestly, even when honest means saying something the person asking doesn't want to hear. You've seen what happens when the answer is shaped to avoid the discomfort rather than to convey the truth. You don't do that anymore. You've also become more selective. The running you do now is less frequent and more considered than the running you did at 23. Not because the desire is less, because the assessment is better. The run that meets the standard gets done. The run that doesn't gets passed. The standard is yours, and it's been refined by 12 years of things that went right and things that didn't. Level 8, the elder. 35 years old, you've seen 3 generations of people come into the scene. You've watched some of them arrive and learn and build and become the kind of people you respected when you were starting. You've watched others arrive and not learn and not build and experience the consequences of not learning and not building. The pattern is consistent across the years. The people who survive and thrive and make a real career in this world do the same things. The people who don't tend to make the same mistakes. Your car sits in a garage that is ordered in a way that communicates the priority of the thing it contains. Everything has its place because everything matters, and everything matters because the car is the work of years, and the work of years deserves the order that protects it. You work on it yourself, not because you can't afford to have it worked on, because the relationship between a driver and their car in this world is not a consumer relationship. It's something closer to what craftspeople have with their tools. The younger people in the scene come to you, not always asking directly, sometimes just being present, watching how you work, watching how you make decisions, watching what you take seriously and what you let go. You were the same. You learned from people who didn't know they were teaching you. You understand this now, and you try to be available to it. Level 9, the full circle. 38 years old, Friday night, an industrial area on the edge of a city. It might be the same one you went to at 16 with your cousin. It might be another one. The geography of this world replicates itself. Empty warehouses, a straight road between 2 sets of lights that runs half a kilometer, 60 or 70 people. You're here, but you're not just here the way you were at 16. The car you're driving and what it took to get it here. You know the people around you and what they've built and what they've learned. You know the road and what it does in the cold and what it does in the wet, and what to look for before you decide whether tonight is the right night. A 16-year-old is standing at the edge of the crowd. You can see it in how they're standing. The way their attention is total and their body is completely still. The specific stillness of someone seeing something for the first time that they will spend years trying to understand and access. You remember the feeling. You remember your cousin explaining things on the way home. You remember the decision that was made without words. You go and stand near them, not beside them exactly, close enough that the presence registers. You don't say anything yet. You let the next run happen first. 2 cars line up, the signal happens, the cars go, the sound fills the space. You look over, their hands are probably slightly shaking. You don't mention it.